Welcome to Peak TV. I'm Niv Dagan, Executive Director of Peak Asset Management, and we've got Andrew van der Zwan, Chairman of MRG Metals. Andrew, thanks very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Niv. Thanks for the invite to talk to your investors.
Andrew, we've been a big supporter of you. For those that don't know about the story, can you tell us a little bit about MRG?
Okay, well, MRG got involved with you and Peak back in 2019. We looked around the globe with your assistance for about 135 projects we reviewed. We landed on heavy mineral sands for a couple of reasons, a couple of key reasons. We're a junior exploration company with limited capital, and we'd been exploring previously for some very high risk, high reward plays, deep drilling over 200-300 meters of drilling. Each of those holes was costing us over $100,000 to do. And with limited funds, we decided that that's probably not the best course of action for us at that point in time. And what excited us about heavy mineral sands was both the scale of the projects and the relative ease of exploration. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. But with your help, we raised some money back in 2019, and we were able to grab hold of these assets in Mozambique. And the projects that we actually grabbed hold of were very large in size, but had a history, although limited exploration, but certainly had a history of some good results in the heavy mineral space. And the previous owners were of good heritage. Western Mining owned some of these assets that we have today. They were subsequently taken over by BHP. And when BHP took them over, we often get asked, well, why did BHP let the assets go? Well, from a scale point of view, these are massive projects for us as a small company, but for BHP, they probably didn't hit the radar. Western Mining, though, who were mid-cap at the time, they certainly were excited by these projects and earmarked over $1 billion of expenditure. So we're very happy as a small company that we're able to grab hold of these assets. We got them in 2019, and we started drilling as soon as we were able to get permitting, and we got on the ground, and we've done a lot of work since we acquired them.
And Andrew, MRG's initial MRE at Koko represents a really large asset for a small company. How was this achieved?
Okay, well, when we grabbed hold of the assets, Niv, both the tenements that we got that were approved, there are actually 5 tenements within the portfolio that we acquired, but only 2 of them were approved at the time. They were called Corridor Central and Corridor South. We knew from the results of the Corridor project to the north of us, owned by the Chinese, that there was substantial high-grade zones throughout the Corridor tenements, 2 of which we owned. So what we thought we'd do is take a very systematic approach, and we decided to do geophysical airborne surveys to identify as many targets than we could, and we completed that within 3 months of acquiring the projects. We did both radiometric and gravimetric analysis, and we identified 13 targets in Corridor Central and Corridor South. Koko was the largest of those targets, and that's the first one we actually got on the ground and started doing reconnaissance auger drilling, which for shareholders and investors, it's very important to understand these auger drilling programs are effectively low cost. We have a field team of 3 to 4 drillers on site, but it's hand augering, and it's labor intensive, but we can drill a 15-meter hole within half a day. So it's a very, very cost effective method for us to very quickly identify targets within a broad kilometre spacing. So what we did is, once we'd identified Koko we went out there and we laid grid lines at 1 kilometre spacing, did an auger program across that, drilled over 200 holes. And from that, we were able to identify targets that we could then come back and do air core drilling down to about 30 to 50 meters. And we completed that within 6 months. And the results of that then prompted us to go ahead and do a mineral resource estimate. So that was very exciting for a small company. First target, first success.
That's great, Andrew. And look, given the magnitude of Koko you've got billions of dollars of contained ground resource. I mean, MRG, you're still valued at only sub 10 million market cap. I mean, what's the reason for that, you feel?
It's a difficult question to answer, Niv. I mean, we're still trying to understand it ourselves. As you said, we've identified our maiden resource at Koko as 1.4 billion tonnes at 5%, 5.2% grade, which which as a base grade is very high. If you compare us to some of the other players in the heavy mineral sand space focused on ilmenite, which is our key focus, a titanium oxide product, they're mining resources of 3 to 4%, and ours is at 5.2. Now, not every single heavy mineral sand resource is the same, and our mineral assemblage within our Koko Masava is of slightly lower grade ilmenite than the others, but our grade sort of compensates for that. So we've got this massive resource, over 1.4 billion tonnes. We've already told the market, and we know that we can expand that to well over 2 billion tonnes without, we just have to do some further infill drilling to get up to JORC standard. So we've got this massive resource, and as you said, multi-billion-dollar tonne contained resource. What I think the market's looking for is what would it cost us to pull it out of the ground, and how much money can you make? Now, given that the MRE identified a 5.2 average grade at a cutoff at 4%, that tells you that the experts believe that it's economic at 4%. What we're now trying to do is we've got that asset, for want of a better term, we've got that asset in the bag. It's going to be a 100+ year mine life potential asset. But what we need to do now is find the best 100 to 200 million tonnes of ore body within Koko Masava or the rest of our assets to kickstart the economics on our project. The capex, we believe, will be low cost, but even so, it's still going to be in the order of 150 to 200 million dollars for a 15 to 20 million tonne per year operation. So whilst we're a long way off doing a feasibility study, we have a pretty good feel for what we're looking for. And with Koko Masava, we know that that's going to underpin a project for multi-decades. What we want to do now is get the best 5 to 10 year early mine life economics so we can kick the NPV out, skyrocket the NPV and make funding a much easier proposition. So that's what we're really looking to do. Why Koko Masava is not valued? We think it's undervalued, but all directors of a company think their companies are undervalued.
Andrew, you've got a huge opportunity, obviously, at Corridor South. You've identified some good zones. What are MRG's plans in this regard? And also, I just want to talk about just the recent announcement regarding Moroa and Maraka. They've just been granted, and how do they fit into the overall strategy? Because we see that as huge upside.
Yeah, well, Corridor South contains a couple of key targets. As I've mentioned before, when we did the airborne surveys, we identified 13 targets across Corridor Central and Corridor South. We've spoken a lot about Koko Masava. We've also identified another 2 or 3 targets that look very prospective down in the south. 2 in particular, Poyombo and Nakuts, appear to have 50 to 100 million tonne zones in 3 or 4 areas across the two targets. We announced just the other day results at Nakuts, which look really good, and we're going to do further work there. So consistent with what I was talking about before, we're now trying to we're not looking for another 1.4 billion tonne mineral resource estimate. Some of these areas may grow to be that. What we're looking for now is 50 to 100 million tonnes of the best dirt we can find across all our targets. And Corridor South fits beautifully into that program, and we think we've already got 3 or 4 targets there. But equally exciting is Morea and Maraka. I mean, Morea and Maraka, and we will announce in the next couple of weeks an update for our shareholders so they can understand what makes Morea and Maraka look exciting. But if you look at the geography of the assets, they sit exactly along strike from the Northern Corridor asset, which is an operating mine today. And there's a tenement that sits in between Corridor North and Morea that has also achieved very, very good results. And it's not a publicly listed company, but we've been able to acquire or at least get some information in regards to some of the assets that sit, or some of the results that sit in there. And we think being along strike, we got a very good opportunity. So we'll continue our strategy of low cost exploration. We'll get on the ground as soon as we can in 2021. And I think we'll announce to our shareholders a pretty exciting program at Morea and then Maraka. And hopefully, again, to fit our strategy, we can find another 50 to 100 million tonnes of the best dirt we can.
So I just want to elaborate just on the best dirt you can in terms of what, I mean, historically, can you give the viewers a bit of a gist or a feel of what sort of grades there was sort of in the past there?
Um, well, at Koko Masaba, we've got 5.2% grade. The ilmenite average across Koko Masaba was only about 40%, which was a little bit disappointing. But as I said, the grade compensates for that. We know to the eastern part of Koko Masaba, the assemblage or the percentage of ilmenite within the heavy mineral sands increases. And as we go further east, we're hoping that we see further weathering of the resource, and we get a higher grade ilmenite. If you look at some of the greatest companies producing ilmenite today, even at 3% grade, they can make money, but they're talking around 65% plus ilmenite. So you can see as we move up the base grade curve and the assemblage curve, there's clearly a combination opportunity for us to find very, very valuable resources. To put it in context for your viewers here, Niv, if we're looking at a 15 to 20 million tonne per annum type operation, if we can improve the grade by 1% from a base grade, you're adding 20 million plus cash flow per year. So that's why we're so focused on finding the best dirt we can, because if we can improve the economics in the early years by $20-30 million per annum, that has a substantial kicker on the NPV, which then obviously supports the feasibility and then feeds into the banking ability to get banking finance, etc. So whilst we believe we've got a very good asset at Koko Masaba, we just want to make sure we've explored our dirt, and we can do it very cheaply. That's what shareholders need to understand. We can explore Maria Maraka in the next year for circa $1 to $2 million, and be in a position where we can move to feasibility. So it's important for people to understand that we're not just going to explore for the next number of years for the sake of exploring. We know what we're doing now. We've got a program, and we're actually very targeted in what we're doing.
Yeah, no, look, it's very exciting, and as you said, you've got 12 other targets as well to explore. So, just to finalise, Andrew, I mean, what sort of news flow are you expecting, or sorry, we're expecting as shareholders over the next month or two?
Okay, we've throughout the COVID period, and obviously we're still in COVID, and Mozambique still is in COVID, but we were able to continue operations, and we have been running a very extensive auger program where we've effectively completed the auger drilling across Corridor Central and Corridor South. We just recently completed our air core drilling at the targets we identified as a result of the auger drilling, and we're now awaiting the assay results, and the announcement we made this week at Nakutsk was one example of the assay results that are coming out. So shareholders will see a number of laboratory assay results coming out from now till Christmas. We're about to make an announcement on Maria Maraka in terms of giving our shareholders an understanding of what we're looking for there, and what our drilling plans will be. And that will come out in the next few weeks. And then obviously that will then flow into a drill program early into 2021. And as you've already experienced, or our shareholders will know, once we get on the ground, we can actually do visual estimates of what we're seeing. So there'll be continuous news flow through early 2021.
Andrew, thanks very much for having us at Peak TV, and appreciate your time.
Thanks, Nev. Thanks very much.